It pisses me. Hi, everybody. How you doing today? Ask me how I feel about technology. Well,
Ah,
I don't know. I don't know what to say about what Restream's doing now. So
are
they
we
asked
censored on this or not, Frank? Because if we aren't censored, then I'm certainly going to ask you.
let's just say that they offered more options. They've taken away what you normally like. Usually you get to make a decision as kind of a set. You make a decision, and for everywhere you send it, it ends up cool, right? So you just go through it a bunch at a time. You do it. All works for every place, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You just set it once and it does it for all of them. So in this case, if you're looking at your screen and it looks kind of weird to you, don't worry. I did that. Did I know why I did that? No, I don't know why I did that. I don't even know why I had the option to make that stupid decision.
It was accidentally on purpose. We're attempting a
Oh
new
my
format for
Lord.
the mobile era.
Oh my goodness. It's totally perplexing. I gotta say, I almost feel, how should I put this? I almost feel like I have to have a little bit of Trump in me. Sorry, I'm bringing politics into this, where it doesn't matter what I'm looking at. I'm just going to pretend it's okay.
It's the best way to go about it.
There you go. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be Trumpian. We're going to assume everybody's blind, stupid, and unable to really see what's going on. After all, he said Americans are stupid, and they voted him in. Who would know better? All right.
Twice.
Twice. All right, Aaron. Let's go to Pasternak and let's talk about the woes of the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, there are certain prognosticators have been starting to sound the alarm bells about this frickin' team, and I'm slowly coming around to the fact that we may be in a certain amount of trouble here. Uh, After that last loss to Boston 5-3, which moved them up into a tie for first place in the division with Montreal, Toronto is now dropped to 7th in their division, 15th in the conference, and wonder of wonders, we are now tied for 24th in the league overall.
Now
So
imagine this. If this is a trend and the Maple Leafs are dropping out of the picture of the playoff picture they're disappearing from, and now they're threatening to be closer to the bottom, where if their season ended today or in the direction they're headed, they would get the first round pick. They gave that away. Now it's protected. That means they could get this one. But next year, if they suck again, they don't get it. It's gone. It's gone. So this Leaf team, this organization, and these players have put themselves in this position. I'm not pointing the finger at any one individual, Aaron. I'm not going to point at Austin Matthews. I'm not going to point at the GM, the coach, but I will point to the ownership. They've set the table here for this kind of buffoonery that has led this Maple Leaf team that at not long ago had a team that should have competed for the cup. They had valued assets. All right. We can talk about the overvaluing of the individuals on the team. I think at least we can say that, okay, fine. They're overvalued. But they were overvalued by a lot of people. Enough that, for example, in 2 years ago, they could have traded Marner, and that would have been a great thing. They can trade Nylander right now. He's that good a player. But the problem is they've given away a lot of their draft picks. So the benefit of fitting at the bottom of the standings is someone else's benefit, not theirs. That's what bothers me more than anything on behalf of Leaf fans.
I'm curious as to how this is all going to work for them. Their next game is tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You know, we are not in a good position right now as it currently stands. You know, for the 25-26 draft, we have 3 picks. That's the third, fifth, and sixth rounds. For the 2027 draft, we have 6 picks. That's 1 in the second, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, and 1 in the seventh. And we don't actually get back to having a full slate worth of draft picks until 2028. And even then, we're missing our 4th round pick. So we are up a certain creek, it appears, without a certain paddle at this point. With $1.1 million worth of projected cap space, $1.35 million of current cap space, and a projected $5 million at the deadline, with $14.4 million in projected playoff cap space, we are a hurting rig. And again, this sort of goes to show, based on the high dollar value contracts that we signed, where we should and shouldn't be. And right now, we are definitely hurting on this one.
The problem here as well, and this is where you see the players are the problem. First of all, the players on the team are a problem right now. We know that, but can you specifically point to the players as the root of the problem? No. I will finish by saying this. This is the limit. I don't even want to think about this anymore. We'll go to the specific news. Even if one says, we overpaid Matthews, we overpaid Marner, we overpaid Nylander, we overpaid Morgan Riley. Even if we say that, in saying that, all that the players did wrong is, and this is the wrong they did. We're learning that today. We can look back and say, we know this today. We know that players have the ability to be aware of how their salary impacts their future on the team, how their team's future fares is related to how much they get paid. We know that now, don't we, Aaron?
Yes, we certainly do.
I tried saying it. I was like, I was screaming into the void. I tried saying that, I tried saying that 8-10 years ago when this was all going on, that eventually be careful what you wish for. If the players get the money they want, they're going to be their own. They're going to regret the decisions they make themselves. If, and I said it then and I'll say it today, if they cared about winning a Stanley Cup, they would regret the salaries they insisted on getting, being the highest paid players in the league for the years that they were. They weren't worth it. They weren't that important. And it meant the team had to continually try to augment the lineup every spring. And what they did was they continually, Dubas gave away so many draft picks. And we know that the new GM, God love him, Trey Living, he had to do the same thing. And now all that faith that the organization had in their players wasn't returned. So do you blame the players for that? No. But you do blame anybody around the players that gave them advice in going for as much money as you can get, because those people didn't care about the legacy those players left behind. How happy is Marner with his Toronto Maple Leaf legacy?
I'm trying to find the bright spot in all of this, and it's not all doom and gloom. Currently, William Nylander with 24 points is tied for 5th in the NHL for points with Connor McDavid. Currently with 14 points, Morgan Riley is tied for 4th amongst defensemen. I'm not even going to touch the goals against save percentage or shutout record for that. That currently firmly belongs with Logan Thompson in Washington, with a 1.56 goals against average and a 9.35 save percentage, tied with Devin Cooley. But I'm not sure what it is.
You're trying too hard.
You're
actually trying too hard.
I'm trying to find the silver lining, and I've got my rose-colored glasses here somewhere.
You do, and it's not your fault. It's not. This is not something I'm blaming Aaron William Freeland for. what I'm going to say is this, Aaron. Here's the problem with Toronto and the problem with what you're saying right now. You're putting too much stock in points for or goals for as opposed to goals against. Here's the screaming problem the Leafs have had the last, I've tried to say it from time to time and it doesn't register, which is cool. That's fine. The plus minus for the Leafs over the past few years has been horrible. While they had the 2-3, they'd have Matthews, Marner, and Nylander up there in the top 20. They didn't have anybody in the plus minus top 20 until last year. Matthews started to make moves there. Marner started to make moves there. They don't have the ability to sacrifice offense for the hope that winning is more important. Again, it's the same story. This Leaf team and this Leaf organization doesn't put the priority on winning. They put the priority on individual success. Team success has not been on the radar here. And the media picked up on it by saying core four all the time. What is the reason why the core four is such a terrible statement that drives the coach crazy? It's because it's all about the four. It's not about the team. We're doing the thing that anybody who's a hockey fan or a sports fan anywhere on this planet, yes, anywhere on this planet, I can say this. It's a question of, are you playing for the name on the front or the name on the back?
Nope. That's a very good question.
And that's what the Leafs lack. The ability to play for the name on the front. They've lacked it. They've lacked it ever since Marner, Matthews, and Nylander came, because it was always about them. The terrible coach that they had, Babcock, the terrible person that apparently he was. He's been framed as a terrible person. He came out and said, this isn't the kind of team that's going to win, guys. We need some toughness. We need some good defense. Everything he said 10 years earlier, 8 years earlier, whatever it was 100% true. And I bought into that statement. When he said that, I bought in right away because I knew what a playoff team looked like. I knew what a team that could get knocked off. I am old enough to remember the Leafs knocking off the LA Kings, the Leafs knocking off the Pittsburgh Penguins. This goes back to around the time when you were much younger, where they were the 16th team. They'd sneak into the playoffs. Try the New York Islanders for size as well, where they were a team that played and barely made it into the playoffs and upset these teams. The Islanders learned a lesson when they lost against Toronto, that they needed to be tougher. Toronto beat them because they were tougher. I don't know if you remember this coach. His name was Nielsen. He was a very good coach. And bottom line here is, the reason I knew the Leafs wouldn't have success is because I watched when I was younger how they did have success. They snuck up on somebody. They played. It wasn't necessarily dirty, but it was so tough. If you knew you were playing a hockey game when you played against those Leaf teams, the Burns and Nielsen teams, you knew you were playing a hockey game. They caught other teams off guard that were high scoring, highfalutin, the favorites, and they beat them. And unfortunately, the Leafs sat in the reverse role under the Matthews era.
Yeah, the part of the good news that I take out of this is that the Leafs are third in the league when it comes to goals for. They are, however, the worst when it comes to goals against. Them and Nashville have both allowed 65 goals against. The reason the Leafs are seeded worse than Nashville is because Toronto's played one fewer game than Nashville when it comes to those 65 goals. So we are still scoring. We're just not getting the defense. Every single game that I've watched this season, it looks like an absolute tire fire and fire drill back there. It's absolutely the Keystone Cops as soon as the puck comes into their own zone. Not only that, heading back the other way, I think I saw 3 successful zone entries last night. Maybe three successful zone entries that entire game.
And one of them hit a skate of the opposition and stayed in, and they still made it in. I know exactly what you're saying, and you're right. You know, the thing of it is that the problem with the Leafs honestly, and this sounds like I'm making excuses, and if anybody accuses me of that, they really aren't paying attention. So here's what I'm going to say: they're missing their top defenseman, and there's a pecking order. When you rely on him and his partner, right? When you rely on the first pair, the rest of the pairs follow suit. They have what their responsibility is set. Now, when you get that guy gone, now this guy comes from here and this guy comes from here, and now you're depending on Riley to be a defensive linchpin.
It doesn't work that way. Not for Mo, at least.
Problem.
The other thing we have to take into account as well is Austin Matthews left with a lower body injury after what appeared to be a hit from behind by Zadorov. Now, when they asked Zadorov about it later, he said, "Look, I'm 6'7". He's not nearly as tall as I am. I hit him. I hit him with my shoulder. 99% of my hits in the NHL are with my right shoulder. That's how I hit him, and he went into the boards wrong. And Matthews was gone.
This is the Zdeno Chara thing. Boston's trotting this bullshit out again. This bullshit.
Look, I just happen to be a big guy. It's not my fault that people try to hit me and they get hurt. That's their thing.
And that's why Ty Domi should hip check him with his knees bent only a little bit. And if Zadorov's knees happen to put him in the hospital, then Ty Domi should be allowed to say, well, it's not my fault. I'm much shorter than he is.
I'm not saying that Max should submarine him. I'm not saying that Max should submarine him. I'm just saying a good hip check could remind Nikita of exactly what happens in the NHL when certain circumstances arise. Now, there's a
phrase, but just to finish that, there's a phrase: size does matter. That's what he's saying, and it matters all the way around.
Now,
convenient.
The unfortunate thing is Stoller's got pulled again for a second straight game. Apparently, it was for a upper body injury, but it doesn't appear to be too serious. I'm thinking he may have hurt his shoulder when going down to make those absolutely fantastic glove saves that he should not have had to have made had the Leafs been capable of playing even marginally reasonable defense.
No,
so terrible. Matthews out with a lower body injury now. Stoller's out with an upper body injury. Losing 5-3. Max Domi managed to successfully kill all the momentum that Toronto had by trying to
fight 20 minutes later
to fight Zadorov, who refused to engage. It's one of those things where it's like, oof. The Leafs are dead last in the NHL with a 3.82 goals against average. They are suffering right now. Woll is making starts for the Marlies.
Oh boy.
They're currently on a road trip, so you're not going to see much of him in Toronto for the time being. But they played a game today. It was an early game against the Grand Rapids Griffins. They unfortunately, I believe, lost that one 3-2. So one of those unfortunate situations where he is starting to see the puck. Now, he did play the game before that as well, but he only played 36 minutes of it. And it's because they're trying to limit his time on ice while folding him back into the lineup, which is a reasonable approach. It's obviously not soon enough for what the Leafs need, just because they're currently suffering. Hildeby going in as the number one goaltender is going to be a bit of an issue for them. But yeah, after this morning's loss to the Grand Rapids Griffins, as well as a 3-2 loss to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms the night before, this road trip is not off to a good start for the Marlies. So we'll have to see how that progresses and how Woll progresses. Pexa is backing him up. So that'll be interesting down the road at Coca-Cola Coliseum.
The Leafs have too many bottom six forwards, number one. Number two, one of their best players is in the minors because they couldn't play him because they had too many. Their best defenseman is out, gone. Their 1A goaltender has not played this season, has issues. For this Maple Leaf team, those are the things that they have to work on immediately. They're going to have to do something. I don't know if Camp gets released, suspended, whatever it is that has to happen to him. They've got to accept the fact that they have too many forwards. And I think, Aaron, they're in a place where too many players are on the ice who are squeezing the stick a little too hard and trying and not thinking simply. They look like they're overcomplicating things. They're not doing things in a natural way that an athlete does things. They seem to be slow, very like they're skating in mud. They can't forecheck. They can't do any of the things that are not that don't require a lot of talent. It just requires a little commitment without delay, without pause. And they're playing like a team that's not sure how they're supposed to play the game.
They are reminding me a lot right now of my last third of a season in midget AA playing for the Thornhill Islanders. I knew I was too short by about 3 or 4 inches and too light by about 20 pounds to get drafted into the OHL, but I was still signed to the team. I still showed up every day for the practices. I still showed up for the games. But a lot of these guys don't look like they're having any fun. It looks like they're just putting in the time, and that has to change.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think they're just putting in the time. I just don't think they have the confidence to believe that they could do it right. I really think the problem is they have too many players fighting for the same positions. And unfortunately, the Leafs had a lot of confidence in their 6 defensemen, so they have 8. I think it's 8 they have up, right? Unfortunately, with the forwards, there are too many guys that know that if they make a mistake, they're out. I just really believe their confidence is terrible, and it's understandable because they're trying to do things that they don't have confidence in right now. So I guess I mentioned what I think they need to fix. They need to fix the bottom 6, make a commitment to more guys rather than be able to switch 2-3 guys out. And they've said it public. They can do that. It's cool. We can change 3 guys out at a time. No, it's not cool. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing when you do that. And of course, they've got one of their players that should be in the lineup in the AHL to add misery to the point that I'm making, who everybody knows he belongs in the National Hockey League. He's proven. Easton Cowan has proven that he can play in the NHL. And all those other guys, they're wondering which one of those, they're wondering who's he going to take over for? Where's he going to go? So, and the biggest thing, Aaron, that screws this team up is the injury to their best defenseman, most dependent, the one you can depend on the most. And without him in the lineup, the defense just isn't the same. They don't have a shutdown pair. They just don't. And because they're unable to shut the other teams down, they're also almost, it's like they're a step behind, and they're not making their breakouts the way we know they can. I mean, we saw against Florida, we saw against Ottawa, we saw defensemen who are playing this year, like number 2. He looks terrible. And they've got to figure out how to build the team back. Right now, this is a team shattered and looking like crap. Now, you wanted good news. I'm going to give you good news that's I'm not saying it's ironclad, but what I can say is this. The Edmonton Oilers, the Florida Panthers made it to the Stanley Cup final, and they've had some really bad starts to seasons. Again, I repeat, I'm not saying Toronto's either of those teams at all. But what I'm saying is, as bad as you can look in November, things can change in March and April. But they got to work towards it. But they got to work towards it. Yep. They got to trend towards it. They got to make that. So it'll be interesting if they can do that. So the Kings beat the Canadiens. and the Leafs are going to play them soon.
Yeah, so the Kings got 3 quick goals in the second period to drop the Habs 5-1. Joel Edmondson and Quentin Byfield each had a goal and an assist. Joel Armia and Kevin Fiala also scored for Los Angeles, who won their second consecutive game on the road. Warren Fogley added an empty net goal, and Darcy Kemper stopped 21 shots. The Kings won their 9th straight game against Montreal, dating back to the 2021-2022 season. That's their longest active run against one opponent. Josh Anderson scored for the Habs. Lane Hudson, last season's Rookie of the Year, added an assist in his 100th game, and Sam Montembeault made 21 saves. So there are, some bright spots to that. Unfortunately for the Habs, they managed to give up points and goals to ex-players. So Joel Armia and Joel Edmondson both had points for them. So that's for the Kings against them. So that's, another one of those revenge game sorts of things. But yeah, the Kings are going to be coming to play the Leafs on Thursday. That's tomorrow. And the Habs are going to be hosting Dallas tomorrow.
Yeah, that's good. It's going to be interesting. The Sens themselves are not playing 100% well. They had a tough game as well. So, the Leafs are missing an opportunity to put some distance in the playoffs, and they're keeping the dregs company. They're 1-2.
Well, the thing is, Ottawa's had 10 points in the past 11 games. So that's, at least decent. They're consistently getting points. They did actually have a 2-0 lead, but unfortunately they managed to fritter that away in the tail end of the game. Coach Travis Green, however, felt his team started off extremely well for the first 35 to 37 minutes on Tuesday, and said it might have been their best hockey of the year. Now, Ottawa's seen contributions from Michael Amadio with 4 goals in the last 5 games, Nick Cousins, and most recently Jensen. But, it's one of those situations where it's just a little too late.
Absolutely. It is what it is. How about the Jets and Canucks?
Well, Josh Morrissey had a goal and 2 assists. The Jets topped the Canucks 5-3 on Tuesday night. Alex Iafallo added an empty net goal and an assist for the Jets in his 600th regular season game. Jonathan Toews, Nino Niederreiter, and Gabriel Velarde also scored for Winnipeg. Connor Hellebuck had 33 saves to help the Jets snap a 3-game losing streak. Now, Thatcher Demko actually made his first start since November 3rd and gave up 3 goals on 8 shots in the first period. Before leaving with an undisclosed injury, he was replaced by Kevin Lankinen, who started the second. And the Finnish netminder made 21 saves in Vancouver's second consecutive loss. The Jets are visiting Seattle tomorrow, and the Canucks open up a 3-game trip against Carolina on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Now, how about the Oilers?
Well, the Oilers finally managed to snap a losing streak. They beat the Blue Jackets 5-4 in overtime. It didn't look like they were going to be making amends for that beatdown. That's one of the worst losses I think that they've had on home ice in franchise history. They were actually trailing the Blue Jackets 4-2 with 6.5 minutes left in the third period. But Jack Roslovic scored on a backhand 56 seconds into overtime to get them the 5-4 win. So there's small comfort to be taken in that. But yeah, that 9-1 loss to Colorado was a bit of a shock.
A bit of a stinger, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to conclude it? What's the last thing you want to talk about?
Well, Bennington and Walker have finally, in a battle pretty much of the basement, managed to beat the Flames 3-2 on Tuesday. The Blues have now improved to 6-8-3 for 15 points. And the Flames have now fallen to 4-12-2 for 10 points on the season. As it currently stands, there are unfortunately more Canadian teams that I'd like to see in the bottom 10. You're looking at Calgary, you're looking at Vancouver, Toronto, and Edmonton, all from 22 down, all with 18 points or less. Now, that doesn't change the fact that, the divisions are still tight. There's only 5 points between Toronto and Montreal at the top of the division. But they've got to do better than Bettman 500 to get themselves out. So this coming weekend is going to be a big test for them.
Big test. Okay, Aaron. Well, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
Have fun, buddy.
Thank you.
He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid.